What does swordfish and the world's oldest profession have in common? I'm not saying. Okay, I'll answer. What does swordfish and the world's oldest profession have in common? They get together and it's a really good dish. Puttanesca is a style of usually making a pasta, right? You go to an Italian restaurant and you hear pasta puttanesca, or you say spaghetti puttanesca, or linguine puttanesca, or whatever. The story of that is it goes back several centuries to a quick dish, usually pasta, not fish, that was made by the ladies of the night in between clients, and that's where we get the name. So what does that have to do with fish? Because it also makes a very good sauce for fish. Traditionally, in Italia, it's done with swordfish. I have two really nice portions of swordfish. And then the ingredients are, pretty much you can get them everywhere, and they're very inexpensive. Onion, garlic, my go-to, anchovy. You don't have to put the anchovy in there, but when you do put the anchovy in there, it gives it a little background flavor and you're not quite sure what that is. But if you don't like the anchovy or you're like, oh my God, I would never put anchovy in anything, then just leave it out. Kalamata olives. We have some pepperoncini or hot pepper flakes, and lemon, of course, capers, some dried oregano, and I've got some really nice little tomatoes here that are looking a little wrinkly. And a lot of times people will say, oh, look, I can't put that in my salad, throw them out. No, why would you do that? When they're wrinkly, they actually have a lot more flavor. Why? Because the moisture that's inside is evaporating and the sugars are concentrating. So they're perfect for cooking. This puttanesca recipe is based on a marinara sauce. A lot of the times when you do a puttanesca, it'll just be chopped tomatoes, which you can do, right? You can use cherry tomatoes, you can use these. Oh, let's not forget the wine. Can't forget the wine. This is a very fast recipe. Oh, he was hiding again. The basil always does that. Up in the right-hand corner, I never see him. Fresh basil. If you have it, great. If you don't worry about it. Let's just get right to it. So I'm just gonna use one large onion, and you can slice this if you want. And really, for this dish, you can do anything you want with this onion. You can slice it, you can dice it, you can chop it. I sound like an ad. I'm gonna use one onion, and this recipe is for 4 people. So you just need one large-ish onion. I'm gonna go ahead and just coarsely chop it into 1/4 inch dice, just like that. Get back in there. The onion is done. And for the Kalamata olives, you can leave them whole, okay, like that, if you want them whole in the dish. You can slice them in half that way for that look. You can slice them in half that way for that look. Or if you really want to go crazy, you can slice them into slices. So if you don't want to put the olives in, you can omit them. You just won't have that olive flavor, which is fine. Now, again, I have these tomatoes, so I'm going to go ahead and use these tomatoes. And I'm just going to go ahead and this is a very rustic, quick dish, again, a la puttanesca. So you don't have to worry about everything being exactly perfect insofar as chopped and diced and sliced and everything. Just get it going. You'll be eating before you know it. See? So there's the tomatoes, there's the olives, and now the anchovy. I have basically what amounts to 3 fillets, I think, because they kind of fall apart when you take them out sometimes. And I have anchovies that are packed in oil. You're just going to give it a rough chop, and that's it. Because when these hit the hot oil, and then when they cook in with the sauce, it's pretty much going to disintegrate. And you won't even be able to find a piece of anchovy in there. For the basil, we're just going to do, isn't that beautiful? Look at that green. I don't know You see that? And so what you're going to do is just do a quickie chiffonade. I would normally do this right before I serve it, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to do it now. So you roll it into a, yeah, and you roll a cylinder, and then you go ahead and chiffonade. That's what you're going to sprinkle on top when you're ready. Last but not least, the swordfish. But what we're going to do is, I'm just going to cut each in half, and I'm going to cut them just this way. So each person gets about an 8-ounce piece. Diamond kosher salt again, and I'm holding it high above the surface because I want it to rain down, right? If you do this, you're going to get big splotches of salt and pepper, and you're not going to get a nice distribution. See how that comes down nicely? Flip that puppy over, and I'm keeping one hand dry, and the other one I'm manipulating the fish because I don't want to keep going back into the fish. That's ready to go, so let's hand it over to the stove. So I have a very nice saute pan that's been preheating over moderately high heat, and we're going to go ahead and put some olive oil in there. And you need to put enough oil so that the fish doesn't stick. I'm going to call that a 1/4 cup. It's smoking, so that's pretty hot. It's a little too hot. I'm going to add the fish off the flame. And what we want to do is, at this point, we just want to brown it. Mostly on one side, not as much on the other, because we want to give it some color and some flavor, right? Whenever you brown something, you are giving it more flavor because you're caramelizing the natural sugars that are there. Okay, there's one side. Here's the other side. Okay, I think we're good. So I'm going to put these aside on a fresh plate, because you don't want to put them back on the plate that you salted them on, right? And then I'm going to take stock of how much oil is there. And I've got pretty much the same amount that I had before. And there's some brown bits on the bottom, right? That's fine, it's not black. As long as it's not black, you're good. Leave those in there because that's flavor. Now, we add the onion. I'm scraping a little bit on the bottom. It's not all going to come up yet until we start adding some liquid or moisture of some sort. Okay, that's smelling good. And it's picking up some color there, which is nice. All right, I'm going to lower that just a bit. Now we're going to add garlic. And I like garlic in this. So I'm going to call that 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic. I'm going to add some hot pepper flakes. I'm going to put in the anchovy. I'm going to put in some of the dried oregano. And again, you can, download the recipe and follow along or just cook it. Okay, I'm going to put in our tomatoes because we have them. We still got those brown bits happening, right? So what we're going to do now is deglaze with dry white wine. But I like Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc because I think they have enough body to stand up to whatever the heck you're doing. And I'm going to call that a cup. And now, because you have that liquid in there, and it's also an acidic liquid, it's going to help you scrape up them thar brown bits. They're all gone. They're in the liquid now. At this point, we're going to add the marinara sauce. It's a half jar, and it's about 1.5 cups or so. You just pour that in there. Now at that point, do not throw the jar out. You must pour some water in there. What's he doing? Put the lid on. and get the rest of that tomato out of there. Now you can throw out the jar. And notice I'm stirring the pan. I'm not stirring the pan. I'm moving or shaking the pan too, right? At the same time. That helps me get everything combined faster. Now you put in your black olives and capers. And if you love capers, you're gonna love this dish. If you don't like capers, don't put them in. I'm gonna call that 3 to 4 tablespoons. And not too much black pepper this time, because remember, we got the red pepper flakes. What I like to do at this stage is I like to reduce the heat, cover it, and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. That allows all the flavors to kind of meld together. But once it's simmered for a bit, we're gonna go ahead and put the fish in there. And then the magic happens by osmosis. The sauce flavors the fish flavors the sauce. And you end up getting something that's much greater than its parts. And it's tasty too. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes, not very long. And you can see it doesn't take very long for that to reduce a bit and thicken up a little. Now, at that point, we're gonna go ahead and put the fish back in. Now you can see here, when I push it with my finger, right? It's still springy. So it's still raw inside, which is fine. This is what we want. Because now we want to cook it or finish it. And now I'm going to just let it simmer for 3-4 minutes. That's it. So now that the fish is cooking, we can put together a little side dish that goes really well with it. But we're gonna be doing a pilaf or pilau, and I think it goes really well with this dish. But you can do a rice pilaf if you'd like as well, or you can actually do a pilaf with rice and some orzo. But you know, the technique is pretty much the same. So what have we got for this? Well, we've got a pot on moderately high heat. We also have, I've chopped up some onion, about 3/4 cup, half cup, somewhere in there. My go-to chopped garlic. This is the orzo. We've got the orzo here. And I think it's, I don't know, whatever it is. Get the, you know, download the recipe over there. So I'm just sort of winging it. Chicken stock, parsley, fresh parsley. Don't use the dried stuff. And some fresh lemon. Don't use the lemon in the plastic lemon. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, typically you would use butter, and you would brown the butter, and it gives it a really great flavor. So if you want to do that, you can do that, or you can just use olive oil, which we're going to do. And I'm just going to put in enough just to lightly coat the bottom. I'm going to call that 1/4 cup. Now, you don't want to get this, you know, stupid hot like you normally would for mushrooms. So this is a little bit too hot. But what I'm going to do is throw the onion in, and as soon as I throw the onion in, I'm going to start stirring it, and I've removed it from the heat. That's always a nice sound. Okay, I'm going to reduce the heat a bit because we don't want to brown the onion. We just want to cook it until it's translucent and softened. So now that the onion, see, that didn't take very long actually. That's what you're looking for. I'm going to add the orzo. And the pan is going to sort of, I don't know, dry up, if you will. Okay? Because it's absorbing the fat, whatever that is, olive oil, butter, what have you. And I'm going to go ahead and toast this until it starts to take on some color. Okay, I'm starting to smell, really, it's like toasted nuts almost. And I can see it's starting to brown. So I don't know if you can maybe see in there, there's bits here that are starting to brown. Okay, now I'm going to put in the garlic, and I'm going to call that a tablespoon. Okay, there, that's what you want. Chicken stock, Now watch this. See, told you it's hot. Doesn't seem like it, but it is. Now we want to bring it to a boil. Don't need any more oil. I will, at this point, salt it, even though I'm using low sodium chicken stock. You're still going to need to salt it. And again, this is Diamond Kosher salt that I'm using. And I'm going to put some black pepper. Once it comes to a boil, we're going to go ahead and cover it a jar. I know that sounds so funny. Don't cover it with a jar, just cover it a jar. And we're going to reduce the heat, and we're going to simmer it until it's done, basically. Maybe 10 minutes or so. And all of that liquid will be absorbed. Just before all that liquid is absorbed, we're going to go ahead and put in the zest of 1 lemon and the juice, and then the parsley just before we serve it, because we're serving it with fish. Now, this is what you see here. That's some of the olive oil, okay? Don't skim it. I know you're tempted, unless you're on like an extreme low-fat diet or no-fat diet. There's very little fat in here, and that is going to be reabsorbed into the orzo, which means flavor. Okay, now it's boiling, so I'm going to go ahead and reduce and a jar, and do your thing. So there we have it. I've turned off the heat, and you can see there's still a little moisture in there, which is what we want, because now we're going to let it sit on the side, and that'll be absorbed. But what we're going to do first is take the zest of 1 lemon. I'm going to call that a tablespoon. And I don't think we're going to use the whole lemon because it's a big lemon. Okay. And then just some fresh parsley. And I'm just going to put some lemon and parsley. Just keep it simple. And stir that in there. And notice what I'm doing. I'm not just stirring, I'm rocking the pan back and forth as I'm going in the opposite direction with my spoon. And that allows you to get a good stir without having to do all this kind of thing, and then it goes all over the stove. Isn't that pretty? That's really pretty, isn't it? So while it's still hot, keep that lid on there. Stick it on the side, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes. Finish up whatever else you're doing, or have a cocktail, and then come back and you're ready to serve. That's it. Okay, let's look at this thing. Look at that. I'm telling you, simple ingredients. You can get them anywhere, cheap, and this is so good. Look at that orzo. Look at how nice that came out. Isn't that beautiful? I put some right in the middle. There we go. We're going to take 1 piece, put that right on top, and I'm going to take some of that nice chunky sauce and put that right on top and let it sort of fall over the side like that. And some little, our finely shredded basil. Now, if you want, you can actually stir the chiffonade into the sauce too, as well. I like to put a little bit of lemon on there. And there you have it. Swordfish Puttanesca with orzo pilaf. Oh, wow. Oh, I wish you, I don't know if you could see that, but it's just, it's perfectly cooked. So the fork just, you know, barely touches it, and it comes, not flaking like it's overdone, but it's just beautiful. And it's kind of hot, so let me see. Damn, that's good. If you would like to like the channel, that would be fantastic. Subscribe would be even better. And ring that little bell so that you know when the next one's coming out. And definitely try this dish and treat your family to something absolutely tasty and amazing. Let me know what you think.